Stripe Gang, what the business is. I'm your host, Uptown Black. If you're new to me, do me a favor, like, comment, subscribe, engage with me. We finna get right in there real quick. Um, it's over with. It's done. I know if you've been paying attention, you've been on pins and needles just like me for the last, 2, 3, I say 48 hours or whatnot. They've been going back and forth, up and down, left and right with this story. I know y'all know what I'm talking about. It's a done deal. Lyle Collins will be the Bengals starting right tackle through the 2024 season. Um, they did it. They hit the home run. They hit the home run in free agency. As far as anybody who really paying attention is concerned. Um, I've been watching this team for a long time, and if you know what, if you've been watching and following the Bengals closely for a long time, like you know the feeling that I had when we started. He left town. He didn't leave town. This, that, and the third. Like, and being objective, I wasn't judging it as same old Bengals, this, that, and the third. But it's hard to kind of like shake that feeling. Like this is the one piece you need to really have had the first complete, the first off season that will complete the roster in who knows how long. You know what I'm saying? And that's not to take nothing away from the Ted Carrot signing or the Alex Kappa signing or even the Hayden Hurst signing that I think that's is going to be a nice little sleeper. But just those was all A1 signings. But without that right tackle, if it wasn't going to be Collins, you have to get somebody and bringing back Riley Reef. I mean, for me, it's cool to bring if you can bring him back as a depth piece. And it ain't the end of the world if you had to bring him back as a starter. But if you can look like just look at what the AFC, the whole rest of the AFC been doing for the last 3, 4 days, 5 days, right? Like Michael Irvin has said that the rest of the league need to be terrified of the Bengals getting the offensive line, right? So make no mistake about it. Don't let nobody tell y'all nothing different. We the hunted now. We set the standard. They on our ass. Like that's what all these. You look at the whole AFC West. They all loading up to try to catch up to the Bengals. Cleveland just mortgaged their whole future to get Deshaun Watson to try to knock us off. Mind you, we still the youngest team in the league. Like, let us not forget that. But at the end, where that may be different with having added a couple veterans, but we still, if we either the youngest or one of the youngest in the league, and we strapped. Like so, you look at the rest of what, especially the AFC is doing in order to try to, basically knock us off the AFC throne. That will kind of underscore how important that it was for them to come through with this Lyle Collins signing. Like it more or less had to happen. You know what I'm saying? But they got it done though. So like I said the other day, this is the season where you're gonna have to start putting some respect on Katie and Troy and Duke Tobin. You're gonna have to start putting some more respect on their name. Like they're not just moving like an NFL front office at this point. You know what I'm saying? They're moving like an elite NFL front office because the one weakness that everybody knew they had, they did it without any top of the market signings. They fixed it about as good as you can fix it without giving up a first round draft pick or a second round draft pick and 17, 18 million a year for Tunsil, paying 20 something million a year for Armstead. Like they did it without giving up no draft capital. They did it without paying nobody above. Well, we don't have the details on Collins yet, but he probably maybe he is. But for anybody else that we already have confirmed, they didn't pay anybody north of like 12 to 13 million a year. And I think that may be what they gave Cap. I have to go back and check it out. But the bottom line is they mastered their use of the cap. They masterfully completed their roster. There's only like two more possible moves they could even make, right? So, like if you look at they still can add a veteran depth piece, rotational piece at edge rusher. I've been hearing talk of Stephon Gilmore. I honestly doubt that they're gonna actually spend that much at corner. I just can't see it. But they don't have any. They literally got a bunch of plug and play guys, almost all of whom. All right, let's just look at it like this, right? Okay, so Lyle Collins is definitely an upgrade over Riley Reef. And Isaiah Prince, come on, we ain't gonna waste the time. Um, Alex Kappa is definitely an upgrade over whoever played guard in that rotation between the Den and G Carmen, Smith, whoever else, right? Ted Karras upgrade at center, right? So they've upgraded at every position, right? And from a pass game production standpoint, they probably upgraded at tight end with Hayden Hurst. Shout out to CJ. Hayden Hurst appears to me, at least, to be more of a pure receiving threat. So at every position that they had to replace, I would say except corner because they just brought back Eli, they've upgraded at every position without tearing their salary cap up and without giving up no draft capital. So now they put themselves in a position to, when the draft comes along now, right, they can go, like I said, I think they still need to add an edge rusher. I don't know who all is still out there among the veteran guys, but I think they still need to add a rotational piece. And once they do that, like you literally looking at them going that best player available from round one all the way throughout as one of the youngest teams with at least another year, well, at least this season coming up before their salary cap situation is turned upside down by a few huge contracts. But the way they handled the cap this offseason, they literally upgraded everywhere where they needed to and still got money to roll over to the guys that they're going to have to extend. Maybe that helps get a Jesse Bates extension done before training camp. Maybe Jermaine Pratt gets his new deal or Von Bill. That remains to be seen. But, I mean, they doing it on a level that you can't complain nothing about, man. So, shout out to them. Man, like, 'cause you look at what that offense is going to be now. Like, you gotta know, if you understand football, watching them over the last 2 years, that's a offensive playbook that's in a stranglehold because the O line eliminates about half of the plays that you have up your half of the tricks you got up your sleeve because Joe Burrow can't get a 5-step drop, can barely get a comfortable 3-step drop. The run game ain't credible, so you can't do a lot of play action. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, just off what they did on the O line alone and getting a receiving threat at tight end. Because remember, as explosive as the Bengals offense was last year, it wasn't really consistent. It was just so explosive that you weren't going to contain them for an entire 60 minutes. But now they're going to have that explosiveness is going to increase with being able to get Joe Burrow comfortable drops in a clean pocket to throw from. And then you add to the equation, if this run game can gain some credibility to get where Joe Mixon, because truth be told, what we used to seeing with Joe Mixon is a wide zone play where sometimes it's blocked well and it's unexpected because it's well timed, and then other times it's literally, he, as they say, taking chicken shit and making chicken salad. So, now if we can see what it's like to have Joe Mixon, with some, 4.5 to 5 yards, run to run consistency, which will make the passing game more credible. I don't see how you stop this offense. Because the truth of the matter is that T. Higgins would probably be a number one receiver at more than half of the cities in the NFL, right? Jamar Chase, I think, finishes the season this next year as undisputed top 3 receivers. Jalen Ramsey, the undisputed top corner in the league, had trouble with both of them, and that's with no O line. That's with never having to worry about loading the box to try to stop the run. You know what I'm saying? So, at the end of the day, I just don't see how I just don't see how defenses keep this team under bare minimum, 27, 28 points every week with a defense that if it's playing at its peak can keep just about any team in the league under 27. So it's a little early to get into predictions. I ain't gonna get into that just yet. I want to see what they do in the draft, and we I don't really start getting into the predictions till right before training camp, at least, really before the preseason. But looking at who they have on the schedule, they based on who they faced last year in terms of pass rushers, it probably ain't getting no better this year. But especially because I think they got to see the whole AFC West. But it couldn't get no worse than it was last year. The difference is now you got a real deal offensive line that should be easily top 10. We may be talking top 5 by the end of the season, and if Jackson Carman can make this magical, year 2 leap, we might be talking about the best O line in the league, combined with what we already know to be the best skill position group in the league, with what we already know to be at at worst a top 10 quarterback, and at best, MVP candidate. So, I think Cleveland did their thing, bringing in Cooper. To be honest, Cooper, he's a talent. He's something to, you know, you got to know where he at on the field. But Amari Cooper don't really scare me like that. No disrespect to him, but I don't think to me, he ain't live up to what we thought he was going to be coming out of Alabama. At the same time, the way that team is built, you're going to have Deshaun Watson and Amari Cooper, and that gives you better than what you had with Baker Mayfield and Jarvis Landry, no doubt indeed. But at the same time, that's still going to be a run-first offense. And I don't think, I think that makes them are the biggest threat to knock us off in the division, with Baltimore not necessarily being far behind. But I still think this is our division to lose. I know certain prognosticators are already saying something different, but I think this is our division to lose this year, especially with what we just did in adding Lyle Collins. So, I mean, they was playing championship level football everywhere except for on the O line, and they making championship level moves in the front office. So, like I've been saying, I'm gonna continue to say, it's a culture change from the office all the way down to the sidelines. So they're gonna be here a while. They're gonna be here to stay. And salute Duke Tobin, Troy Blackburn, Katie Blackburn, because this ain't a situation where it was like a trash heap type of situation where they just picking up, the one man's trash, the next man's treasure type situation. There were other offers for essentially all three of the big pieces that they added to their offensive line. So they actually went and did, like I said, longtime Bengals fan, what we always criticized about. You ain't never had to worry about losing a bidding war to the Bengals if you was another team. But they went in there, and they shot the shit, and they did what needed to be done in order to bring in these top talents. You know what I'm saying? To keep this window open for at least another 2 to 3 years. You know what I'm saying? And that's what they did. Like, from what I'm seeing, the moves that's being made in the front office and what's being done on the field and who they got, the character of the locker room, I'm saying these boys going to make it to at least another 3 Super Bowls over the next 5 to 6 years, and they're going to win at least 1, maybe 2 of them. You know what I'm saying? So it's a good day to be a Bengals fan. You know what I'm saying? We finally are in the modern era, and I think they still gonna try to shit on us a little bit when it comes to these preseason polls and all of that. We expect that, but we'll take that though. We'll take that, especially with what the team is actually putting out there. But that narrative gonna change real soon. You can bet that. I ain't got a whole bunch else. Stripe gang, we out of here. Who they?